So you talked a little bit about, the wheelchair metaphor and how men who may feel like, they have to look a certain way are kind of constrained and they can't really be themselves because they can't talk about the issues that they're experiencing. How would you tie that in with someone who's a guy and struggling with their own body image?
Well, this is the thing, I think that we could obviously speak for days and days about women and body image, and there's been a lot of work and analysis and attention in the media around that. But what we do is, again, with most issues around men and masculinity, we don't talk about it. So there aren't really spaces to talk about men's body image. There's a lot of men's health magazines, and the covers are always, a guy who's just got an 8-pack and this idea of lose your gut. It's not really about how do you get into a real state of health, and the conversation of why men might not be in a state of health because of the stress that they're internalizing that leads to them gaining weight or being underweight, and then more importantly, not talking about it because you can't, God forbid that you want anyone to know that you're struggling with an issue, that you're not capable of handling your stuff, the whole piece of man up, just shake it off, or be the strong and silent type and, not show that you're dealing with stuff. And this stuff is really, it shackles a lot of men because they can't, talk about things that are going on. And when it comes to things like body image, there's a perception that they might have that, they need to look more muscular, they need to be in shape. And it can even be things like if you're a male that's in a dance program or long distance running, there's a lot of issues around losing weight, quote unquote, to be more effective. And then that will lead to issues as well. But again, the way we create masculinity is that the man feels he can't even talk about it. And regardless of sexual orientation, whether you're, identify as heterosexual or queer, it's an issue in those communities as well. So it really affects every community, every culture, every space, every place, when it comes to wherever there's a man, there's probably a man who's not talking about this idea of body image. Because, there's men that, will say, I don't look in the mirror, I just get up in the morning and I go. And I'm honestly one of these guys too. I'll shave my head and I'll put my clothes on. Are they mildly clean? Okay, let's go out the door. I gotta go to a meeting, right? But I'm also conscious when I do think of it, of what I look like, when people are thinking of what I look like. But, for a lot of men, it's not reflecting that. It's like, I don't care about how I look, and pretending that they're, not conscious of it. Actually, there's a woman that I came across. Her name's Lee Morgan. She does consulting for business professionals on fashion. And it's a big piece where, for a lot of businessmen and professional men, they want to put the appearance of that I don't care what I look like, I don't really have time to think about it. So they reach out to her for her advice, but when they do, it becomes a therapy session, she says, because a lot of them kind of open up and talk about, this whole piece of what they look like. She'd actually be a great person for you two to talk to, because she talks about how, men will say, I just want to look a certain way and look polished and give me an outfit, give me a look. But what she'll do is she'll really sit down with them and kind of have them answer some questions and really analyze who they are and what is it of their true self they want to put out there. But a lot of men are like, well, I don't really want to talk about it or go there, or I don't even think about that myself, about going into the real me, because so much of it is a performance, it's an act. As men, we're constantly performing and asserting our masculinity, proving that we're men by the way we walk and talk and what we eat and don't eat, and what we wear and don't wear, what we watch and don't watch, et cetera, et cetera. So it's this whole thing for guys where to actually talk about the appearance that they have and what they look like, and part of that is how they fit in clothes because of their body. I'm really skinny, or I'm a bit overweight and I can't fit into this, etc. I'd like to bulk up so I could fill this shirt up, and this is stuff that even just saying it sounds bizarre, because how many times you hear guys saying stuff like that, but men are thinking it all the time. And the thing is, we're all thinking it because we're all projecting, we're all forced with these ideas of what a guy should look like, rather than just accepting you for yourself. So yeah, talking about body image is at the core for every man, and it's something that is such a foreign conversation for everyone, because we don't talk about it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have any personal stories you'd like to share about any experiences or that you've had, or maybe someone close to you have had, that you've experienced with gender construction, like a personal story or a friend?
Sure, yeah, I've got a few. I myself, I've put on about 80 pounds over the last 4 years as a student and doing a lot of work around this stuff. I'm being a role model means to kind of struggle and deal with your own issues, and for me it's been a neglect of myself at the hands of my work and being obsessed with my work and not finding a full balance, which is an issue for a lot of men, where they don't think about, you know, a lot of the other things and factors. You know, the idea of not thinking about tomorrow, I was thinking about today, and etc. Like living on the edge and being just adventurous as a young boy, that kind of extends into your manhood. So for me, it's been a thing of needing to get into a state of health. And years ago, I had a personal trainer, and I was the kind of guy that people would come to me looking for, you know, for fitness tips and that kind of thing. And I had a trainer who was a woman, and she was at one point number 2, ranked second in North America in professional bodybuilding, fitness bodybuilding. And we would go to the gym together, this gym in Woodbridge. And in Woodbridge, it's a very, like, you know, the stereotype, but it's true. There's a lot of jocks and a lot of, you know, examples of guys who are cut and look like they're in shape, but are they really? We don't know. And it's interesting to see the dynamic of her being in that space and this kind of territorial thing where a lot of the guys would treat her terribly because they were jealous or insecure or all these different things of a woman who's coming in whose arms were bigger than theirs were. You know, and she's very, you know, very femme-looking, very, you know, beautiful by society's terms, but also had a very masculine shape in the sense of muscle, etc. And she would, you know, jump on the actual weight machines, not these, like, you know, fancy, you know, high-tech machines, and just pick up, you know, free weights and go at it with the best of them. So it was an interesting experience as a man to go in there and feel people looking at me and eyes on me to think that, you know, why is a woman training you? And even dealing with that myself and coming to terms with those questions and seeing how she was treated based on her body image. And then men started questioning their own image in my mind because they felt that I'm supposed to be the one that's bigger, I'm supposed to be the one that's stronger. So the natural reaction was to be defensive and then to a counterattack and treat her improperly, you know, and that kind of thing. And so for me, it was like a time to come around thinking about a lot of my body image issues, you know. And you know, I'm someone that as well. Like I look at the shape of my body now, and it reflects kind of what's going on inside. And I think that a person's body manifests what's happening in a lot of ways. So if you're stressed, you'll feel stress in your physical body. You know, if you're neglecting yourself, it'll one way or another affect as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been an issue for me, and I really can't think of a guy where it hasn't been an issue around what they look like. And you think of things that they say where either they're really overemphasizing how in shape they are, how they go to the gym and everything, as if that's, which is great, but it's almost to the point of trying to prove that they're on top of things or that they're capable, etc. And you have guys who will do a lot of you know, self-deprecating humor around their body because that's their way of kind of coping and addressing those awkward conversations, right? But you know, it's there's times where I've had conversations with men in a safe environment where they feel comfortable to kind of just disclose and talk about this stuff, you know, and say, yeah, I feel that pressure to look a certain way and be a certain way. And again, it doesn't matter what shape or size, right? Because no two people are meant to look the same physically. We're all just unique, but we can't accept that. We're just caught up in trying to look like someone and pretend to be something and someone that we're not. So, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to stop this because about